Hey everyone, and welcome back to my tutorial series on how to build a multifunctional, object-oriented Discord bot in Python. Last time, we set up our configuration module and we stored channels that we're going to allow our profiles to post to in that configuration module. So this time, what I want to do is actually write the logic to post and update profiles as people make changes or create them. Okay, so let's jump right in. It's going to be super fun. This is my favorite part. So let's go into our profile class, and here under the compile behavior, let's make a new section, and we'll call this simply async in the class async def post. Okay, and this will take in an interaction with no return. Okay, so the first thing we want to do before even compiling the profile in the About Me is we want to check to see if the data points that are required are there. Ultimately, the only data point that we're requiring is the character's name. I mean, that's going to be kind of a crappy profile, but ultimately, we just need the name. So let's check for that. If self.charName is ns, let's create an error. And this error is going to be charName not set. And we don't need to pass anything to that. We'll go ahead and do our typical error handling and send this real quick. So await interaction.response.send message. The embed is going to be equal to the error, and ephemeral equals true. And we can just return from there. All right, so let's define this error really quick. Let's go into our errors. And down here at the bottom, we can say class charName not set, which is an error message. And as usual, I have a doc string right here that we can use. And then we'll define our init. So init, we don't need to take any parameters. And we can call the superclass. So our title is going to be character name not set. The message is you haven't set a character name for your profile. The solution is going to be multiple lines. So we'll drop down and say you can't post your profile until you complete at least that much. Period. We'll do a new line and use in between ticks profile details to change it. And we can come back here later on and substitute in a proper /command mention here. But remember, since we're only in our debug guild, we've specified that we only want our testing server to have access to the bot. We don't have any global commands yet, so it would be silly to mention a command that's only valid in our testing server. So for now, we're going to put this in a code snippet, but we'll come back and change it later. Alrighty, so up in the top, let's export charName not set, and we can go back over to profile, and the squiggly's gone. Okay, cool. So if the character name hasn't been set, we're going to return an error. But in the event that the character name is set, well, then we can compile our profile, right? So main profile and about me equals self.compile. Oops, self.compile. Great. So up till this point, we've been talking about the length limit for embedded messages. And Discord requires that all of the fields, the title, the author, the footer, the description, the body, everything needs to be under 6,000 characters total. So if we add all the characters together, it has to be under 6,000. And keep in mind, this also includes the links in our additional images section. So we have to plan for those links that are ultimately going to be roughly this long. Because remember, we're saving it to Discord as a permanent home for images. So we're always going to have a Discord-based link like this. So these are pretty long. We want to consider that when we're creating our length limits for various sections and inputs. So here I finally want to check and see if the profile is under that limit. Okay, so if the length of main profile, so that it will calculate the number of characters in the specific fields that pertain to the length limit. So we can just say if length of main profile is greater than, well, let's say 5,999, just to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room there, a whole one. Well, if the length is greater than our limit, let's say error equals exceeds max length error. Okay, and let's drop in the length of the main profile. Okay, and we'll tell the user how many characters they're going to need to shave off ultimately. So let's do the same thing we did here. And we'll send the error back to the user and get out of the function. Okay, so now we can define our exceeds max length error. Over here in our errors module, let's export this first because I don't want to have to scroll up again. So exceeds max length error. It's going to squiggly because we don't have it yet. But if we go down to the bottom and make ourselves a new line, oh, that one's a little long for some reason. Now we can say class exceeds max length error, which is an error message. And I'll paste in our doc string as usual. Here we go. And let's call the init method. So def init. This is going to take in embed length, which is going to be an integer. And then, as usual, we'll call the superclass. And into our error message, let's say that the title is going to be equal to profile to large. The description, I know we don't typically put the description, but the description is going to be an F string with current character count. Let's capitalize these, why not? And we're just going to put between ticks, we'll put the embed length. Okay. And the message is going to be multiple lines, so we'll drop down. Your profile is larger than Discord's mandatory 6,000 character limit for embedded messages. We're trying to give the user as much information as possible without being downright confusing, right? And this is kind of a confusing concept because it adds up all of the characters from the whole embed. So we don't need to explain that in its entirety, but we do need to let them know that this is Discord's limit. This isn't ours. Okay, and the solution is going to be the total number of characters in all your profile's sections must not exceed 6,000. Comma? Why are you squiggling? Oh, no comma after the text. Okay, there we go. Okay, and here is our profile to large error. No more squiggly? That's good. So let's keep talking about this function here. So next up, I want to create a list of the embeds that we're going to send for the profile. So embeds is going to be equal to main profile to start, because remember, about me, if they haven't input any information for about me, this could be none. We don't want to just post a blank about me. That would be silly. So we want to check to see if it's none before we add that to the embeds list for posting. So if about me is not none, let's say embeds.append about me. Okay, pretty simple. What we need to do now is I want to check and see if there's already a profile that's been posted for this user. Because if there is, we don't want to clutter up the channel with, multiple profiles. Let's say the user makes 4 or 5 changes in a row and finalizes their profile after each one. Well, that would be really spammy on the profile channels. So we're going to go back and we're going to edit their existing profile if it's there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is in our, right down here below this function, let's create a new async function. And this function is going to get the profile post message for us. So async def, this should be inside the class, fetch post message. And into this, we need to pass the client that's going to fetch the message for us. So we actually have access to that here. All right, so we're going to pass in interaction.client when we call this function. So down here in the actual function, we can just say client, and that's equal to frogbot. Right? That's exactly what it is. And we're going to return an optional message. Okay? You may need to import these at the top. I was doing some testing earlier and I can't remember if I got rid of the imports that we need, but obviously you know how to scroll up and you know how to import these things. So just make sure if you need to import frogbot still, that's under type checking because we're not instantiating the frogbot in this class. We just need a reference for type checking. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, let's get a shortened reference to the post URL. So that's going to be equal to self.details.postURL. Okay, and we'll go ahead and use the property. First thing, let's check and see if the post URL exists. Okay, so if post URL is NS, which means that we've never posted a profile before, well, we can just return. We don't need to return a message because we'll be checking for a none value back in the post function. Okay, so if there's no URL, if there's no post handy, just return nothing. Otherwise, well, let's go ahead and say that the URL parts equals post URL.split at the backslash. And then we'll grab the channel ID from that ID, which is equal to the integer value of parts sub 5, and also the message ID, which is equal to the integer value of parts sub 6. Alrighty, so down here, I'm going to instantiate a variable called profile message. And this is going to be equal to none to start. However, as we go through this try except process to actually fetch the message, we're going to hopefully load the retrieved message into this variable. So I want to try first getting the channel that our message is in, because we can't just simply fetch a message with the bot. We have to first fetch the channel and then have the channel fetch the message. Okay, so the channel is going to equal await client.get or fetch channel. And then we can drop in the channel ID that we have pulled out of the URL. Okay, and in the event that the channel accepts, well, we just want to return because this URL is no longer valid. That means the channel has been deleted, so we can just return none out of this function and go about our day. But otherwise, we're going to add an else statement to this try except block. Well, I want to do another try, and this time we're going to try and get the profile message, okay? And this is going to equal await channel, the channel that we retrieved here, dot fetch message, and we'll put in the message ID. Okay, but what if we don't find it? Well, that means that a post ID has been stored because this check was passed and all of this ran successfully, but there's no message pertaining to it, which means that that message was deleted at some point. So we can go back into our details class and say self.details.postMess URL, the property, equals none. We can just get rid of that. We can get it out of the database because we're going to put a new post. All right. And then either way, we're going to return the profile message. Okay. So either way, we're going to get none. We're going to get a message. Hopefully we get a message. Otherwise, it's going to say none and we're just going to post it. So back up here in our post method, under where we decide which embeds to use, let's say that the profile message equals await self.fetch post message, and we'll pass in the interaction.client. But the problem here is that the interaction.client is typed within the library as a client. So we're expecting a frogbot here. And we know that our client is a frogbot, but the library doesn't. So let's just drop in a type ignore to tell it to shut up. Perfect. Okay, so let's say that the profile message that we went to retrieve was found. Okay, so if profile message is not none, well, I want to try editing that message. So let's try await profile message dot edit, and we'll pass the embeds like that. So this is going to overwrite any embeds that are already in the message. Super handy. But let's say that somehow maybe the bot pulled the channel from the cache and there was some weirdness and it didn't realize the channel was gone. Let's just plan for a not found error. Okay? And again, if the message isn't found, we're just going to set self.details.post URL equal to none. Okay, so let's say await interaction dot response, because we need to properly respond to the interaction and let the user know that the message was posted. So we say send message. And before we define it, let's actually go down here to the bottom and let's define another function. This is going to be called def success message. Okay, and it will return to us an embed. Now, what do we want to do in this function? Well, we're going to straight up return our trusty make embed function and then drop in the values we want. So the color is going to be a color.brand green. That's going to be a positive green success color. The title is going to equal profile posted. The description is going to be multiple lines. So, what do we want to say? We want to say, hey, good job, you did it. Oops, good job, you did it. Your profile was posted successfully. New line. And let's go ahead and draw a separator. So draw separator, and I've done the tweaking for you. So this is going to need an extra value of 37. I know it's very specific, but it's the way I want it to line up, and it won't drop everything onto a new line, but it takes up the entirety of the line that it has. Okay, so let's add a new line, and we'll say character name with underscores, and then in triple asterisks to make it bold and italic, let's say self.charactername like that. And you know what? Let's go ahead and put this in parentheses just like that. I think it looks a little better if we're being like, hey, by the way, this is the character name that belongs to this profile. So we'll drop two new lines here. And I want to go ahead and add the line that links to their profile. So we'll make an F string and we'll put bot emojis dot arrow right dot value. So we're going to have two arrows on either side of the link that takes the user to their profile, pointing in towards the link. And then what's cool about Discord is you can make links with specific text and then have the link underlying in Discord. So that's ultimately what we're doing with our additional images, right? With the caption and the underlying link. So let's do the same thing here to make it look cleaner. So in square brackets, let's say, check it out here. And then let's drop down because the link could get a little long, and we'll say in parentheses, self.details.post URL. And then outside the brackets, and we'll add another parenthesis there. And then outside the parenthesis, we'll say bot emojis dot arrow left, so pointing back in at the link, dot value. And we'll put a new line, and let's go ahead and add one more draw separator for looks. And the extra on this is going to be 16 because I want this to line up perfectly with this. So after our description, we'll go ahead and put in the thumbnail URL, which is going to be bot images dot thumbs up frog. Oh, we haven't defined that yet. So I'm just going to copy in a link from images on my other bot, but you can put anything here. Any kind of thumbs up, any kind of success message you want. I just happen to have this adorable one right here that I use for all of my other functionality. So we're going to use that. Back here in the profile, let's say thumbs up frog.value. And then the image URL, well, let's make that equal to the same thing. Bottom images dot thumbs up frog dot value. Excuse me, not the image URL, the footer icon. That's what we need to make that, okay? Because if we have the thumbnail and the main image as that image, that's going to actually look a little silly. So we don't want that. Let's also add some footer text. Give yourself a little bit of credit here and attribute the bot to yourself. So frogbot by Allegro 6969. Give yourself a little credit. Come on. And then for our timestamp, we want this as true. We want them to know when they posted it so they don't get confused about which message is accurate or, when they posted or whatever. So that's our success message. We can go back up here to our posting method, and in the interaction.response.sendMessage, let's go ahead and say embed equals self.successMessage, like that. And then after we've succeeded, we can just return. Okay, because the edit was all we have to do, and everything below this is going to be a new post. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to run through that behavior again. So down here, we're going to say the prompt that we want to write equals our trusty make embed function. The title is going to be select your posting channel. And the description is going to be multiple lines. The selector below is populated with the channels approved. And let's put a new line and drop down by your server admins for profile posting. Period. Let's do 2 new lines. Drop down. Pick one to finish the process. And then our timestamp is false, as usual. Now I want to instantiate a view. And we haven't made this yet, but it's going to be a profile channel selector view. And we want to pass in the owner as usual. So that's the interaction.user. And then we want to pass in the list of profile channels that we can post to. So self.guild.config.profile channels. Easy. Okay. So now after that, we want to excuse me. Let's not finish the logic here. Let's actually make our profile channel selector view. Okay, so we can, what do we want to do? Let's create a new UI class, or a new UI file, excuse me, and we'll just call this profile. And like I've been doing up till now, I'm just going to give you all the imports right off the bat so we don't have to do any scrolling later. So from future, import annotations. From Discord, let's make this import. Let's make this a vertical list. So we can say button style, interaction, member, select option, text channel, and user. And from Discord.ui, let's import button and select. From typing, we want to import type checking, list, and union. From .view, let's make sure that we import our frog view. And then if we're type checking, let's pass for now. Okay, these are all of our imports, excuse me. Let's grab a separator and drop that here. Okay, As we usually do, let's define under all. This is going to only have one thing in it for now, and that's a profile channel selector view. Alrighty, and now for this view, we can put it down here, and it's a class profile channel selector view, frog view. And we'll call the superclass, or excuse me, we'll define the init, which will take in, you guessed it, the owner, union member user, and the channels list that we want to create options for. So this is going to be a list of text channel. In the super call, let's put in the owner, and then we want to set close on complete equal to true, because we don't need this message sticking around once we've interacted with it. Our options for this are going to be equal to an empty list, and then for ch in channels. So let's iterate through, and we'll create an option for each one. So options dot append select option right here. And the label is going to be ch.name, so the channel name, and the value for this is going to be equal to a string containing the channel ID. And we'll be able to convert this back to an integer later on in our callback. So that's all we need for the actual selector view. Let's create a select and also a button to cancel the operation if the user decided to wait. So here I want to say class profile channel select, and this is going to be a select. We'll define the init, and into this, let's take our options list, which is a list of select options. Oops, we can call the superclass. I bet you knew that was coming. And for the placeholder of our select, let's say select your posting channel. The options are going to be equal to the options we passed in. And let's say that disabled is going to be true if the length of our options that we passed in equals 0, else false. So for the callback of our select menu, we just want to set the view.value equal to the integer value of self.values sub 0. So it'll be the one that the user selected. Okay, and the view.complete equals true. We did successfully interact. Let's send back a dummy response, edit message with no parameters, and await self.view.stop with a type ignore to get rid of the squiggly. Okay, that's easy enough. Let's go down here and say self.addItem profile channel select, and we'll pass in the options that we've created here. Let's also make, though, here in this section, a class cancel button. And this is basically just going to back out of this operation. So it'll be a regular button. And we'll define the init with no parameters, call the superclass as we do, and our style is going to be button style.danger. Canceling is kind of bad in this situation, so we want to make it red. Label is going to be equal to cancel. It's not going to be disabled. We always want them to have that ability. And the row is going to be equal to 4 for the same reason that our other close and cancel buttons are in row 4. We always want them at the bottom of the view. Okay, so async def callback self.view.value equals false. So if we come out of the view, we don't want our code to continue operating, right? And then self.view.complete equals true. So we did successfully interact with the view, but we don't want our code to continue executing, which is why the value is false. All right, we'll do the same dummy interaction response here that we did above. And let's go down to our selector view, and we'll add that as well. So self.addItem cancel button. and we don't need any parameters there. Okay, very cool. So this is all we need in our profile UI for the time being. Let's jump back over to our profile class, and at the top, we can say from UI, import star. And that's not going to import our profile channel selector view because we forgot to add profiles to our init. So from .profile, import star. And now our squiggly's gone. Sweet. What do we do next though? Well, now we can use the profile, we can use the response from our view to find the profile channel. So let's respond to the interaction with this message. Okay, so let's try a proper response first. So interaction.response.send message, embed equals prompt, view equals view. So in the case that we come into contact with an application command invoke error, which will happen if this fails. And it did fail on me during testing, so I want to catch that here. So let's go up and we'll import application command invoke error here. See, scrolling up is a pain, and I forgot something anyway, so shoot. All right, so accept application command invoke error. We're going to await interaction dot follow-up dot send with our embed being equal to the prompt. Oops. Prompt, and the view equals the view. Okay, and either way, we've attached a view to that message, right? So let's await that. And now, once our view is complete, we want to check to see if it's not complete or if the value is false, because both of those situations are going to kick us out of this function. So if not view.complete, if it timed out, or view.value is false, which means that the user clicked the cancel button, we just want to yeet right out of here, okay? But in the event that they picked a channel, the view is going to disappear and we need to get that channel from our bot so that we can post to it. So the post channel equals await interaction dot client dot get or fetch channel. So we can just drop in a type ignore here because the code is expecting a client, but we know that our client is a Frogbot, as I've said before, so we can ignore the error. Okay, and we want to try this because this could potentially fail. So let's accept a not found error and let's make a new error message called channel not found. Okay, and we'll do the same behavior up here as these error messages. We'll just await and return. Paste that in there. And let's define the error message. So over here in errors, we can make a new section, and this will be class channel not found error. Error message, definite. The init's not going to take any parameters, and we can just directly call the superclass from here. Title is going to equal posting channel error. The message is going to be the selected posted channel wasn't found. And the solution would be try finalizing one more time. And let's paste in our doc string. Almost forgot about that. There we go. So the reason that we're saying try finalizing one more time, oh, and let's export this before I forget. So the reason that we're saying try one more time is because within the function that gets the channels, that puts them into the view and creates options from that, well, it's an edge case, but in the event that between the time the user invoked the command and the time that the command tries to post, if the channel was deleted, we're going to get an exception. So we want to plan for that extreme edge case just in case. Okay, so we can go up here. Oh, from utilities, we were importing everything. So, we haven't exported it, have we? Okay, let's see here. Oh, channel not found, error. I knew that. I totally knew that. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and finish up this function now that we know we have a channel. We can now send our profile message to the channel, grab the URL, and be done. Okay, so let's try posting that. Post message equals await post channel dot send, and the embeds plural parameter is going to equal the embeds that we made. Okay, but in the event that we accept, I want to just raise that directly. Otherwise, if it succeeded, we can say self.details.postURL, the property, equals the postmessage.jumpURL. Like that. And let's finally do the same thing that we did up here to confirm the success message. Let me put that there. And then let's just change this to a follow-up because we've properly responded right here, at least. So we have to follow up at the bottom. And that should be it. So let's try testing it. I'm pretty excited. Oh no, wait, we can't test it. So the last thing we need to do is we need to make a function in our cog, a slash command that performs this method. Okay, so let's do that now. At profiles.command, the name is going to be equal to finalize, and the description is, let's say finalize and post/update your profile. Our function is going to be called async def profile finalize, and it will take in a CTX with no return. Let's grab the guild data, which is self.bot.getFrog with the ctx.guildid, same thing we've been doing. And then, even though we've checked a gajillion times to make sure that we have profile channels, there's always a possibility that one might get deleted and cause errors. So we want to check multiple times to ensure that we have channels, we have the data that we need to properly post this. So I want to check again and say, if not, guild data.config.posting.profile channels, profile channels, let's raise an error. And that equals no post channels configured. We'll await ctx.respond, the embed equals the error, and it is ephemeral. So that's true. We can return out of here, and let's jump back into our errors and define another one. So this is going to be, let's jump up to the top and export this really quick. And we can go back down to the bottom and say class, no post channels configured. This will be an error message, colon, outside the parentheses. And within our init, we don't need to take any parameters. We'll call the superclass here. And let's see, what do we want to say? For the title, let's say no profile channels configured. Let's add a description, and this is going to be italic, and in parentheses, you're going to want to contact a server administrator for this one, period, and parentheses, and asterisk. Okay, the message is going to be equal to there are no configured profile posting channels for your server. And the solution have a server administrator run the in tick marks / profile post channel command to set one up. Okay, and there's our error message. Let me drop in the doc string that I've got. Okay. And we can go back over into our profile, our cog, and at the top in our imports, let's say from utilities, we'll just import everything. Because ultimately, that's where we made that. Our error messages in utilities, and now we have no squiggly. Phenomenal. Let's finish this off then. So the profile is going to equal guilddata.getProfile. ctx.user goes in here, and then all we want to say is await profile.post ctx.interaction. And then we're done. Now we can finalize our profile. So let's test. Okay, looking good. Let's do /finalize. And it appears we have an error. So let's see what happened. We forgot to await. So if we go into our profile class here in the post command, yep, there it is right there. Within our try block, I forgot to await the response. So let's restart, and we'll try one last time. Okay. /finalize. Okay. So here's our embed. And it looks like, yep, there's one channel in here, so we can click that. It deleted it, and my profile is posted into the profiles channel. But we didn't get our success message. So let's see what happened with that. Aha, okay, so we have a webhook error. So let's see here. It is in our profile. There we go. So the follow-up is not send message. The follow-up in our post method is actually just send, like that. Okay, so let's try this one more time, and we can actually check the edit behavior as well. So once this starts up, I'm going to go into Discord, and let's see. Let's look at our profiles, and I'm Froggy Queen right now, right? So let's go into our details and edit my character name back to Allegro Vivo. Okay, and if we finalize now, okay, there's our success message, and the profile has been updated with no additional messages. So we've done it. We have successfully posted our profile, and we also edit it if a profile already exists. But let's test if the profile was deleted. Okay, so we can go finalize, and it brings up the posting channel to select just like it did before. Okay, it's looking great. Let's also really quickly just test if deleting the channel is going to cause an error. So let's say finalize. Okay, so it looks like even though we've deleted the channel, it still appears in our list, and we could click on it. Okay, so we need to have that channel in here, right? And I think a good way of ensuring that our channels list is always up to date with correct channels is to write a new listener in our internal cog. Okay, so we've got an on guild join listener, but there's also a listener for when guild channels are deleted, which is exactly what we need here. So let's say at cog with a capital C dot listener, and in here we want to put on guild channel delete. All right, and so async def on guild channel delete, and we're going to get a reference to the channel that was deleted. And in this case, it's going to be a guild channel, which we need to import So actually up here under Discord from discord.abc, we want to import our guild channel that way because it's not actually present in the standard Discord library. So we need to import it directly from the ABC file. Okay, so down here, let's go ahead and see if the deleted channel is in our configurations list of channels. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is match up our guild. So for guild, in self.bot.frog guilds, actually, we can just grab the guild by saying guild equals self.bot.getFrog and pass in the channel.guild.id. Okay? And then let's loop through this. So for index channel in enumerate guild.config.profile channels. Oh my gosh, channels. If the channel.id equals the channel that was deleted.id, then we want to say guild.config.profilechannels.pop the index of that item. And then we want to say guild.config.update to make sure that the database is updated. And honestly, we can just return because again, there should never be a second reference to any channel. Okay, we only add channels to the list if they're not already in the list. So we can just get out of here and quit iterating. All right, so now let's go ahead and run our bot. Okay, looking good. Super. So over here in Discord, let's go ahead and add the profile. Well, let's go ahead and test without having any channels. So let's say config profile channels. Okay, we have a not set. Excellent. So the dead channel was automatically kicked out of the list when we were loading them during startup. That's good. That's the behavior we want. So let's go ahead and config posting channel. We'll add profiles. Okay, looking good. And let's finalize. Okay, so the posting channel appeared there. Looking good. Let's go ahead and delete profiles. And now let's finalize again and see what happens. Okay, so it looks like the channel was deleted from the list successfully, and we have our error message. Super, super, super. All right, so that's it, folks. Our profile's getting posted. It's editing properly. The channels are cleaning up after themselves if they get deleted. It's fantastic. So give yourselves a pat on the back. This is what we've been working towards for the last, gosh, like 15 hours of videos, I think, like 12, something like that. I haven't been paying too much attention to the time. But anyway, definitely give yourself some credit because this is a big project and you got through it. So I have a couple of additional features that I want to go ahead and add in future videos. But for now, I'm going to stop the video here because we have done some excellent work. So thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.